The Yakuza is the main term for the Japanese Mafia, and in this video we are going to see how the Yakuza is structured, how they earn money, and how much they earn. So let's get started.
On track, now we going way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up, counting all the way up. Counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up.
The Yakuza adhere to a rigid social structure. They are active both abroad and on practically all Japanese islands. They are traditionally represented in South Korea and Thailand. Hawaii is regarded as the chosen bastion in Western foreign nations, along with San Francisco on the American mainland. Yakuza activity was also noted in Australia and New York, especially after 1990. Bases throughout Europe include Amsterdam and Paris. The law forces the Yakuza to operate secretly. The Yakuza still constitute a powerful community within Japanese society and have been able to maintain their importance, especially in the banking and real estate industries, despite the decline in their formerly cordial relationship with the police and their general social standing in recent years. The Oyabun, or father, is the most important person in a Yakuza network. An Oyabun subordinate is required to give him complete obedience. The sons, or kobun, are seen as being lower in the hierarchy. This idea is nested on a number of levels. The future kobun must promise devotion and fidelity to his Oyabun until death as part of the complex initiation ceremony used by the Yakuza. The requirement for severe sanctions for operating outside of the Yakuza's structures and the resulting failure to remit proceeds demonstrate the decreasing force of this precept. Additionally, within organizations there is frequently competition and power battles between several power centers operating at the same level for the favor of the higher level. The majority of Yakuza are thought of as membership candidates, who reside outside the group and carry on regular business, but who can be hired as needed on a case-by-case basis. The gambling gangs are said to be the ancestors of the Yakuza. At that time, the Yakuza was made up primarily of merchants and members of the lowest socio-economic strata, such as farmers and craftsmen. You had no choice but to ask the Yakuza whether you had lost your land or business due to gambling, natural calamities, raiding samurai, or because you were fleeing riots or prosecution and had landed in a new town impoverished. The Yakuza would then provide you with housing and employment. Only during the turbulence at the start of the period from 1926 through World War II, particularly after the Japanese defeat from 1945 on, did the Yakuza recover any real impact on Japanese society. The foundations of the contemporary Yakuza began to take shape during this period. It coordinated illegal trade and smuggling. Rebuilding of the economy and state institutions came next after the end of the occupation and the San Francisco Peace Treaty's recognition of Japan as a sovereign state in 1952. The Yakuza created their own economic ventures in response to the transformation, particularly in the fields of construction and gambling. The numerous gangs clashed and competed with one another, leading to brutal gang battles over power bases. The three gangs that still hold sway today, Yamaguchi-gumi, Sumiyoshi-kai, and Inagawa-kai, became more powerful as a result of the violence that prompted the state to bring charges for the first time in the middle of the 1960s. The Yakuza used the economic downturn of the 1970s and the ensuing boom economy of the 1980s to break into the banking sector. Protection gangs for publicly traded firms also evolved into a form of organized crime. The introduction of container shipping enabled traffickers to generate enormous sums. All of the major syndicates underwent a generational change in the 1980s. In the Yamaguchi-gumi specifically, this battle raged until the decade's conclusion and intensified pressure on the groups from the police, legislators, and the general public. Any financial collaboration with Yakuza organizations has been prohibited since October 2011. As a result of Mizuho Financial Group's failure to thoroughly vet its business partners and handling transactions for Yakuza members, Japan's financial authority took action against the company in 2013. The Japanese Yakuza, like all mafia groups, play a crucial role as service providers to society. Its clients look to the mafia for protection either because state authorities treat them unfairly or because they engage in criminal activity and the government would not defend them. This job is done by the Yakuza for Japanese society. But now we should take a look on how the Yakuza generates this large amount of money. The Yakuza has always been associated with the gambling and entertainment industries, but it is now getting more and more involved in other sectors as well. The modern Yakuza has extended its influence to affect political corruption and financial sectors. Additionally, it has previously made an effort to sway political elections by providing initial financial support for candidates or other unlawful services in exchange for payments to be provided after the election. The Yakuza also continues to shield conventional mafia practices including prostitution, human trafficking, and both legal and illicit gambling. These Yakuza, who are into human trafficking, for instance, use alluring promises to entice young women from the Philippines, South America, and Eastern Europe to Japan, where they force them into prostitution or work in strip clubs. The Yakuza is also increasingly involved in drug trafficking. Although this is very lucrative, some Yakuza groups forbid their members to participate in it. Because the Japanese legal system only provides private persons and businesses with insufficient methods for pursuing financial claims, one focus is on legal and illegal debt collection by money collectors. Loans are also given out at wildly unreasonable interest rates. The extremely rigid Japanese stock corporation law must be used against a company, and it takes considerable skill to create or at least threaten difficulty by minor shareholders in order to extort enormous quantities of money from corporations. At shareholder meetings, the Yakuza gain entry and make threats to interrupt or leak explosive internal secrets, or they make threats to propagate highly prepared, but at the time of the occurrence, improbable fake news. Yakuza have used this tactic to blackmail the Mitsubishi Group, among others. Similar extortion techniques can be employed in the real estate industry by threatening to utilize so-called restricted land against major development projects, which could cause significant issues for the developer. The conflict-averse Japanese corporate community also generates a lot of money for the Yakuza. The simplest demonstrations against clients' competitors are consequently staged by the Yakuza on behalf of businesses, or even only threats to do so. This sometimes entails the abrupt, obnoxious appearance of well-known right-wing extremist splinter groups. Their mere existence in a busy area in front of a building might damage a business's reputation. Additionally, the Yakuza is increasingly involved in fraud activities that deprive elderly people of their whole life savings. Nevertheless, one of the primary sources of income continues to be the extortion of protection money. For instance, protection money is surreptitiously given to the Yakuza in numerous hotels and restaurants through the laundry service of the Japanese refueling linen Zoshibori. In contrast, meaningless economic news is expensively offered in the financial industry in order to earn protection money. In summary, the Yakuza's sources of income are extortion, gambling, human trafficking, prostitution, drug trafficking, and other criminal activities. The Yakuza subgroup alone, the Yamaguchi-gumi, are said to generate $80 billion in sales per year. That is about 3 times as much as the Japanese conglomerate Nvidia. Authorities in the United States claim that, among other places, Hawaii has a significant Yakuza presence. From there, the Mafia is alleged to carry weapons and drugs to Japan and the United States, respectively. According to reports, Yakuza in California work along with gangs from China, Vietnam, and Korea. There are hints that the Yakuza are also active in Nevada, Arizona, Virginia, Illinois, and New York, among other places in the United States. Cooperation with the Russian, Irish, and Italian mafias is being discussed in New York. Large amounts of heroin and meth are likely supplied to the Yakuza by Chinese mafia organizations in China and Hong Kong. The main sources of firearms for the Yakuza are Taiwan and Russia. Both are trafficked into the United States and profitably marketed there. For hundreds of years, Yakuza members have marked themselves with big tattoos to signify both their group membership and their status as higher-ranking members of the organization. When they joined the Yakuza, many peasants and craftsmen gave themselves new, warlike titles like Tiger or Crane, which they then had portrayed in this way on their backs or chests. Additionally, they regularly added ostentatious and creative embellishments. Frequently, everything was pattern decorated, with the exception of the head, hands, feet, and genital region. However, among the Yakuza, the tattoo is really becoming less significant. A Yakuza member can restore his dignity by using a Japanese short sword or a hammer and chisel to amputate a finger limb if he makes a mistake that damages his reputation. The upper half of the little finger is typically used to begin with the left hand. This custom originated during the samurai era. Veteran Yakuza frequently replace missing fingertips with prosthetic ones in order to avoid being easily identified in public. And that's it for the video. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Bye.